Girl, you the man, and she love me when I'm in it, and she never be pretend.
I did a Zoom thing. I forgot to unmute myself. Well, hello. Welcome everyone to the East Spot with Camille. I'm your host, Camille Cower, and I cannot wait for you guys to meet my guest today. It is Renoly Santiago. He was born in Puerto Rico, grew up in Union City, New Jersey, and he started off working with the Ballet Hispanico, and he's done several films. I know the one that always sticks out in my mind, of course, is Dangerous Minds, but he also worked on CONAIR, Hackers. Sorry, I was blanking on the name and looking at something real quick because he actually is having some technical difficulties. So I'm trying to look at two things at once while trying to explain all the things he's done. He's appeared in movies, TV shows, countless of things, but until he comes on, might as well get to know each other better, right? Like, if you guys don't mind, go ahead and put in the chat where you are watching from. If you're here in North Carolina, if you're in California, if you're in Texas, Jamaica, who knows, wherever. If you could just put in the comments where you're watching from, say hello. My mic is very far away. I hope you've been able to hear me. Turn it up a notch just to make sure. Let me know how my sound is as well, if you don't mind. All right, so let's talk a little bit about Renoly. I talked to him earlier today, and I know he was trying to figure out some things because we were actually supposed to do an audio and visual test earlier, like at 5 something, and he was working on something. It was taking a little bit more time than necessary is what I'm assuming, because we made a whole point of talking about, and that's the thing about the more you make plans, the more they backfire sometimes. But it was funny. We even made a point of saying that a lot of times you get prepared really, really early for things. Next thing you know, you're racing against the clock at the last minute. It happens. I'm starting to feel psychic. But anyway, he's worked on just recently. He's got some films that he's working on even right now. So I'm curious to find out how filming that's going with COVID and so on. He's got a new shirt company that he's working on as well, which is something that was causing for him to be a little bit delayed. But I don't know if you guys remember the show, The Night Of. I loved that show. Well, he was in that show, The Get Down, which I haven't seen yet, but I've heard really good things about. So I'm gonna have to put that on my list of things to watch moving forward. And I was actually going to try to watch Hackers today, but too much was going on. Life went too fast because I've never seen that movie, and I'm curious what's it about now. Like, now I have even more reason to watch it as opposed to before. It was the whole talk about Angelina Jolie. That's where she met her first husband, maybe. Or I don't remember. But something along those lines happened with Hackers. So it was always like something in the back of my mind, like one day I'll have to watch, because it's always interesting when co-stars end up becoming more than just co-stars. You're kind of curious if you can tell on camera sometimes, if you can see the chemistry or not. Sometimes you can, sometimes you can't. Like Mr. and Mrs. Smith with Angelina and Brad Pitt. Girl, I'm sorry, Jennifer Aniston, but they look like they were made for each other after watching that movie. And I haven't seen a movie since that has made me feel that way about co-stars. Like, usually you're like, it's just a job, they're working. That movie, whew, yeah. I can see why they did what they did. Not that they should, because entanglements are bad, unless they're prearranged entanglements. I guess. I don't know. Whatever. Anyway, back to Renoly. Hopefully he'll be joining in soon. I know he texted me and said a couple of minutes, but it's been a little bit more than a couple minutes. So I'll just keep talking about some of the work that he's done. He's a singer as well, and he's performed. Oh, missed call. All right. Connecting camera. Perfect. All right, so he should be in soon. That's right, good. I was looking for my text messages to pop up on my computer, but my computer's been acting crazy lately, so I haven't been seeing my text messages there, and I just now saw them. So he should be joining us very, very soon. It's kind of weird right now. I don't see him, but it shows me.
Hi. All right, we did it.
Oh, thank goodness.
How are you?
I am doing great. How are you? Oh. No, he's frozen. He's frozen in the party dance, though. Maybe he'll come right back down. Oh, come on, internet. Technology, why can't you do me a solid just once? See, this is going to make my pressure go up. My blood pressure. All right. All right. I'm going to close him out, and maybe restarting it will kick him back in. We'll see what happens. Yeah, really wish I paid more attention in computer class now. Whoops. Granted, the kind of computers I learned on are nothing like the computers of today, so probably wouldn't have helped me much. And he's back. He's going to take a minute. Bear with me. I don't know what's happening. I feel like I need the Jeopardy sound effects. I've wondered this. If I played sound effects, how would it work? Would you guys be able to hear it? Because right now I feel like I need the Jeopardy one. Maybe it's me. Bear with me 2 seconds. I'm going to do a reboot real quick and see if that helps. All right, let me know if you guys can see me okay. If you could just give a comment or something. I'm going to check. Oops. Grab the wrong device. I'm going to check my phone to see if anybody's texting me. Let me know if they can't hear me or if something's going on. I tell you. Text me and said a couple of minutes, but it's been a little... okay, he's back. Thank you for your patience. It's just taking a minute for it to actually show up completely before I bring him in.
Okay. Are we on real live time now?
We are.
All right.
Live, like I was about to say downtown Julie Brown live, but
yeah,
they were never live.
I remember those days. Yeah.
Yeah, wiggle. What did she say? Was it Wagga Wagga? I forget. It doesn't matter.
Right. Wubba Wubba.
Oh, Wubba Wubba. That's right. That's what it was. Wow. Those are some fun days. I miss being.
They were. I'm so glad we did this. Oh my goodness! Finally.
Yes. So tell us all about you. How did you get started in the entertainment industry?
Well, I've always been very artistic since I was a kid, and I mean, I get, kid is a long term, so I would say, I mean, when I was like 7 years old, I kind of like, always loved singing, always loved dancing. I was like that little kid on the block that people made a circle around that would be getting down to the music and like putting on a show. You know what I mean? Yeah. And so,
love those kids.
Yep, that was me. And so I just basically started to pursue the arts. Well, I knew early on, there used to be that TV show called Fame.
Yes, of course.
Yeah.
Leroy.
Yes, Leroy. Yeah. Oh my gosh, I love Jean Anthony Ray is the actor
Okay.
that played that role. And yeah, he was just amazing and so inspiring, and yeah, what a dancer, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then funny enough, I don't know if you remember, the Latino male character that came on the show was named Jesse. Do you
I'm
remember
bad with
him?
names. I was a kid, like a
Yeah.
really small young kid,
Yeah.
but I'm sure all the boys looked amazing to me. I don't remember. Yeah.
Well, the Latino guy, his character's name was Jesse, and that's the actor
Oh
named
wait,
Jesse.
yeah, New York Undercover guy, right?
Sorry?
He was in New York Undercover. That same guy, same
No,
just
but the
no.
guy from New York Undercover was also on the show. He was a dancer on the
Okay, okay,
But the guy that actually played a lead character that was also a dancer and a singer, his name is Jesse Borrego. He's an actor.
okay.
And so funny enough, first time, I ever saw him on that show, one of the first Latino actors that you would, that was on the air at that time. Funny enough, he ended up being in CONAIR. So it was like a full circle kind of experience. Yeah. And then we became very good friends, and now we're like family. And then he ended up playing the father of my girlfriend on an episode of Touched by an Angel. So we worked, yeah. So isn't that interesting and
I
beautiful how
love when that
that,
happens. I
yeah,
love when that happens.
yeah.
Wow. So when you were a kid and you would watch him on TV, did you identify more with the dancing side, the singing side, or acting? Like what spoke to you first?
I actually always, the singing and the acting.
Okay.
Even though a lot of people by meeting me thought first I would probably become a singer and then or a dancer, but the acting was like a little secret that I kept inside. That and I do apologize. I just want to let the audience know I got a sunburn a few days ago, so I have cream on my forehead right now, which is what you see. But this is really me more without the.
No worries.
I mean, who wouldn't know? You know what I mean? It's like we're going in the middle of a heat wave right now.
I keep trying to tell people, I'm like, you've been indoors in a pandemic, wear
Yeah.
sunscreen, maybe double, and realize that, oh, cute
Yes.
dog.
So these are the babies. Yeah, this is my baby that I was outside with. That time just goes. You can imagine you lose track of time on what you're doing, and they
No.
love being outside. Let me show you guys, and the boy. Come here, Comet. This is my female. Her name is Pocket Diva.
I love it. I love the name.
And she's so full of love, as you see. And it's so funny because if you hear barking happen, it's because she hears noise outside.
Yeah, yeah.
So she's like the in-house watchdog.
Yeah.
And then we got, but it's so funny. Don't tell anyone, audience. But if they open the door, she'll be wagging her tail behind the door. But she puts on the show behind the door,
Yeah.
And then this is my boy, Comet.
Oh, they're so cute. Are they both Yorkies?
Yeah, they
Oh,
are.
I'm so.
And he is quiet indoors, and then he's the outside the watchdog.
Oh, so you got your security detail with you at all times.
Yeah, I mean, and it's so funny. They just assign themselves through telepathy or dog speech, whatever. Like you do inside, I'll do outside. So, it's just like a natural agreement that happens. She makes the noise inside, and he makes the noise outside. So, go figure,
Sounds
Yeah.
typical to me. My husband always makes the most noise outdoor. No, I'm just kidding. I don't know that.
Yeah. Well, hey, I mean, but yeah, they're just so cute, and they, they definitely make quarantine a little bit easier. Yeah, regarding that. But just to tell you a little more about how I got into the acting and everything.
Mhm.
So it was always like a little secret that I kept inside that I thought, if I got the chance to tell a story I felt I had a lot of emotion in me,
Yeah.
and yes. And I thought like, if I ever got a chance to act, that maybe, again, you never know how these things will, go. But I thought that I felt I had something to offer.
Mhm.
I felt like given the chance, I could really, use my spirit in that way. So that was early on. I mean, when I saw shows like Fame when I was about 11 years old,
Yeah.
and then it kept going from there. And the singing has always been something that I always loved and wanted to pursue too, because I was, had a very obvious a strong voice as a child that
Okay.
I felt I wanted to share, you
Yeah,
know?
yeah.
Yeah. So that's all. And then, one thing led to another. I had a friend who was in theater.
Okay.
And yes, and I lived at the time in Union City, New Jersey. So, which is not far from Manhattan in New York City. So she was a student at an acting school, and she just invited me once. I now that I think about it, I approached her because I found out that she was in acting and all of that,
Hmm.
and then she was nice enough to bring me to her acting school in New York, and I started just pursuing little things like that, and it started. I don't know if you've ever heard. Well, I know in Los Angeles they have Backstage,
Right.
the newspaper.
Right, right, right.
Yeah, which now I'm sure it's like online or whatever. Back in those days, it was a weekly newspaper,
Hmm.
and I started like that. So
Oh, wow. No, I used to live in New York for a little bit, so I even saw it there. Now, when did you go from taking classes to actually pursuing it, auditioning, getting your foot in the door? Did you start with an agent? Like, what was those steps for you?
yeah, basically, I started through the school. Thank God that the
Mm,
school that I went to, that my friend brought me to, actually the teacher was a manager.
okay.
So she used to manage Latino children. That was her niche. She
Yeah,
was a
yeah.
Latina actress that had managed to appear in the New York stage, and she wanted to offer Latino children that opportunity. So she created
Mm,
a management. Her name is Susan Rybin. She's still around today, and she manages Latino artists, and she still has her school, and she's still an
fantastic.
actress. Yeah, and that's another funny little full circle story too, because again, so I was brought to her school by my friend when I was about 13, and then right away she started sending me on auditions, and I managed to get like a musical when I was about 13 or 14, and so that finally got me on the stage and in New York, and to me that was like such a leap from
Mhm.
my reality, because being born in Puerto Rico, then coming to a small town, an immigrant Latino immigrant town like Union City, New Jersey, which was predominantly Cuban and Puerto Rican,
Of
and then you had a little bit of everything else, and it was amazing. And then that made me really feel like, okay, I really feel like I want to go after this for my whole life.
Mhm.
And so she helped me get started in the business. And then I went on an audition, funny enough, for through Backstage for Warner Brothers Records was considering starting a division, and they were looking for young people that I remember it said something about that could speak out against drugs or whatever, and be like I guess like a good uh, you know, role model or something. And
Mhm.
so I went in and I auditioned for them, and then they called a manager that is still also around, called Shirley Grant Management, and then they reached out to me, and then we recreated a relationship, and then I started auditioning for bigger projects,
Yeah.
and then that's how they got me the audition for Dangerous Minds, and for Hackers, and for Daylight, and then from there the management company split up, so I stayed represented by one of the other managers that had been guiding my career,
Mm.
and I got CONAIR and television and Broadway, and so that's how it all
No,
you
that's
know.
amazing. Now, at what point were your parents on board? Were they always very supportive about helping you? Because I mean, as a child actor, that requires a lot, like as far as taking you back and forth to auditions or even helping you with running lines. How did that work out?
Yeah, that's a great question, because, of course, for artists, no matter if they start at very young or even into early adulthood, that parental support is
Mhm.
so, even if it's
Jeez.
emotional, is really important. So my mom and dad got divorced when I was very young, and that's what brought us to the States, because she left my father when I was about 4 years old. He had a problem with drinking. He still does, unfortunately. He's I guess, sort of functioning alcoholic, and so, and honestly, I'm not ashamed to to say, because everybody has. He was also like a womanizer,
Mm.
and so my mom just like
Got out of there. Yeah.
got out of it, and
Mm.
so she left with me and my sister, and then we built a whole new life here in the States. So when I wanted to go into the arts, she had she created no walls or got in the way of it. She just
Yeah.
saw it as something that I wanted to do, and that she felt happy to just, I guess, see me doing something I loved.
Yeah.
So that's how that happened. And when I started with no money to begin with. I sold Italian ice. I remember to save money to buy my headshots.
Okay.
Little things like that, because we didn't have the money to, so I knew pursuing this was going to be all on my own.
Mm-hmm.
And also my mom was not fluent in English. She still is, she's learned a lot more, but
Okay.
back then it wasn't, something that, she knew either. So I was literally, I look back and I did all the legwork myself. At the time, it just seemed logical for me, because it was something I dreamt of so much.
Yeah.
But yeah, but now that I look back, I think, wow, that really was intense. Like the fact that I did all that by myself, and yeah, and I went through all of the hurdles that actors and artists go through, the insecurity, the asking myself, what am I doing here?
Yeah, the whole imposter syndrome and so on.
Yes. I went through a lot of that, because there was nobody that, I remember when I got Dangerous Minds, one of the things that I thanked God for was that there was finally going to be somebody that looked like me on the screen. Because I was aware more than other people that when Latinos, even the Latinos that we had seen on screen prior to that, tend to look more Anglo, or Italian, like I always say, and we still have that problem today. A lot of, casting, for some reason, when they, put us on the screen, we look like Italians.
Yeah.
Yeah. And,
I didn't know Scarface was supposed to be Cuban till like later on in life. And I mean, because it's Al Pacino playing Scarface is part of it too, but I'd seen him in Godfather, so I get exactly what you mean.
Yeah. So like I was like really grateful that there was finally that I thought in the back of my mind, wow, I'm gonna actually, a lot of people that are younger than me in years to come now, maybe they won't feel so ignored, and
or scared to be themselves.
Yes, and they'll feel acknowledged at least. So, and I think that's one of the main catalysts for the fire and passion in my performance in that film. And that always informs my work, because what else to motivate you than to say, like, this is bigger than me, and this is like a battle, and I'm in there to fight. It's not only showtime. It's literally like I'm trying to make a point at the same time. So it was, that's what that was like.
No, I can relate 100%, because I mean, obviously there's not a lot of, like, now there's still an issue as far as diversity in front of the camera and behind, but I grew up in Europe. So as a kid, I saw even less. And so the only time I saw brown or black people is if somebody mailed us VHS tapes. I know I'm aging myself. And or they would send us, or every once in a while you could rent it from the stores, or we would always be like a year or so behind a little bit on American stuff. But it's got to be one of those things for me. I know when the first person I remember seeing that looked like me on screen was Diana Ross. And I just remember being just like, like just enamored, like everything about her, and just wanting to be exactly like her. And I'll go into all of that later, but I wonder what it was like for you to now to have that kind of realization for yourself, that you were being that for someone else. But not only that, but you've kind of picked roles that weren't always the traditional or stereotypical. I wouldn't say traditional, but the stereotypical roles that they try to put Black, indigenous people of color in, so it's, you went a step further with that too. You didn't really play to type either. How did that make you feel, or how did you navigate through that?
Yeah, it was fate, and I also, I'm someone who is very, have a lot of faith in God and in the hand of the Lord and things, So that my career, I think, was also a part of that mostly, like because we don't get as much choice as artists to pick and choose, and so it was like a display for my diversity too, because basically the way it worked was that I would get auditions and I would morph into the character, and then God willing, get the role. And then, because also my films weren't out yet, like it takes like a year sometimes for things to come out. A lot of the times casting directors didn't have a reference on a type for me, so they would, and my managers, thank God, they were, just pushing me in where anything that had anything for a Latino role. So in that time, it was a really cool thing that it gave me the opportunity to play different characters that were not a stereotype. I think what played a hand in it, believe it or not, was also the era that we were in at that time. That's why I'm always fond. I always speak very highly of the Bill Clinton era, because he was very similar to Obama, but since he was white, he didn't get that resistance that Obama constantly dealt with. So it's really messed up that that's something that is part of it, that you say like, wow, just because he was a black president, everything that he said was met with resistance, where Bill Clinton was, pretty much similar in the sense of diversity and inclusion. I don't know if you remember the Arsenio Hall show, which
I
was
do, the saxophone.
yeah, and went on and played the sax, and he was
and he was on MTV. Like, he really reached out to the younger voters.
Yes, and so he respected too, the culture, the American culture, and he valued it. And so Hollywood always follows, because at the end of the day, investors are involved and the big money people, and so the tone of, the leadership, I think, really affects what gets produced. And I don't know. I don't believe that there's a shortage of diverse scripts floating around. I feel that we are doing our part as far as the writing goes. There's a lot of Latino, incredibly talented writers, African American writers, as we know. That the door has been open ajar just a little bit, so that we can see. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, for sure.
What people, have to offer. And so part of my success in that time was the tone in the country and in the industry. And then as we saw the presidencies, now talking about, the leadership now that we opportunity we have in November, but the things, the tone changed. And then when 9/11 happened, I knew it, as an artist of color, when that happened in my mind too, right away I thought, oh, that's going to affect how much diversity now we have. All this we've been building up to. And because the word immediately was out that like 80% of the film projects in studios, the studios were being slashed. In my mind, I thought, all right, well, we already know all the Black and Latino and even, Asian and whatever projects have been taken off the board, and they're going to stick to what they consider safe and what they're used to. And so we had a regression, and we're still recovering from that. Because as a lead actor, I don't get a lot of scripts across my desk or across my email to even audition for. So it's like, projects that incorporate the diversity aren't even being produced. So it's something, you know.
No, you're the first person to really bring that up on here, but you're 100% right, because my career changed drastically when Michelle Obama was in office. Like, now you could be a professional Black woman, and those were the kinds of parts I was getting. It wasn't things I was scared to say no to as much. And then once they weren't in office anymore, it went right back to being the single mom. Maybe I'd get a spouse, maybe I wouldn't. Like, it wasn't. Yeah, it changed a lot, but I also assumed that it was because we had HB2 law here in North Carolina, where I don't know if you're familiar. It was the bathroom law with transgender, and that everybody pulled out of North Carolina. Cirque du Soleil, NCAA, filming, Homeland. I was thinking of that when you were talking about 9/11. Is that it shifted in a way where we were back to being the bad guys again. You know, we were the terrorists or stuff like that when 9/11 happened, as far as people of color. And yeah, so I was thinking of how Homeland was created or soon after that, it was created here. But I'm curious what you think, because you did say that politics tends to lead. And I feel like there's been a shift almost recently where maybe it's now time for entertainment to make that lead, in the sense that it's so much of a stronger platform. It can unite us all. It's one of those things that's not so segregated on the weekend, so to speak, that we're all watching Netflix or we're all going to the big blockbuster movies. And I wonder what you think moving forward, how that might change entertainment, or if you think it'll still be politically led. I thought you were really that still. Should have known better. Well, maybe I'll unfreeze in a little bit. Internet man. That's one of the downsides of city living, that at 6 o'clock you're sharing it maybe with a lot of people. Yeah. Well, we'll be back. That's such a great discussion. I was so curious because when I worked at Med Spa in West Hollywood, and I wish I could remember her name, but she was a mom in one of the sitcoms that was a Latin family, and I was doing her facial right before a red carpet event. Gosh, I can't think of it, but it was around the same time that Seinfeld and his show was on as well. No, actually, it was after Seinfeld. But anyway, we were sitting there. I was doing her makeup, and she was. I was doing her facial, and she was talking about how the stereotypes of how so many times in Hollywood films that she only gets parts where she's playing a maid, or she's somebody's mother that's irate and has to play up all these different stereotypes. And she's like, and I'm a third generation American. Like, I don't have an accent anymore, and I still have to play it up or play to type, so to speak. And so just hearing even Renoly talk more about having that same kind of, a little bit different, but just having that same type of thought process of making sure the kind of roles that he worked on were that it gave someone something to look forward to, just like he did with Jesse on Fame. And I think about that all the time, as being that sometimes you can't be what you can't see. So if you don't know it exists, or you don't know that opportunity includes you, maybe you'll avoid going into it, or think, oh, that's not for me. That's not for girls. That's not for boys, whatever it may be. And so just knowing that, hopefully with all these new initiatives, I'm hopeful that people are going beyond just using black squares and hashtags, and are really making genuine efforts within not just giving out these grants here and there or loans, or I saw Facebook is helping out influencers that have 10,000 followers or more, because they need the help. But anyway, I'm sure they do, because it's still the algorithm of Facebook. But there's so many times that I wonder how that might change in the future with the pandemic, and with people having the time now to really learn more about the different things that plague people beyond themselves, and not just worry just about what maybe they see that affects them themselves. And I don't even think that's like a narcissistic thing. It's just when you're living your life, you're living it for yourself. You're not always thinking of what your neighbors may be going through that are a different race, religion, or sexual orientation or whatever from you, what their life has been like. And so with everything being kind of on a pause button, I like to call it, you get that opportunity to really learn from each other and see how, as much as things may seem the same from the outside, they really aren't. We are experiencing completely different American dreams, or in his case, actually getting the American dream. Because how cool. I can't even imagine what, as a immigrant child moving to America and having all your Hollywood dreams kind of come true and getting to work with some of your icons that you grew up, that like planted that seed in you of possibly going into entertainment and then being able to work with them later on. Like, that's just the coolest. And I really hope we get to talk a little bit more, because I want to talk to him also about his singing career, because not to toot his own horn or anything, but he's sung with Marc Anthony. Like, he's, even on that front, he's super talented. Yay, he's back. Okay. Speaking of singing, I'm not any good at it.
Hi, beautiful. I'm back.
He's back.
Yeah.
3 times is a charm.
Yeah, right? Yeah, I think for some reason we got cut off and then it couldn't find the server, so I just signed in. So if that happens, I guess I'll try that again. Is that
yeah, that's fine. I have the gift of gab. I can go all day. No, I'm kidding.
All right. Hey, no problem. I'm enjoying it.
Yeah, me too. Well, I was just curious, just because you were able to work with your icon and also be able to be that now for other people as well. But when you were doing all these different roles, and we were talking already about avoiding the stereotype, but what do you think with the pandemic and everything, with I think so many people being more aware with social justice, do you think entertainment might lead, or do you think hopefully in November the government will lead in a way that entertainment will really be more than just the black boxes and hashtags?
Yeah, I mean, my goodness, it's such an open in the air like question. I really hope that the entertainment industry does lead, and then I'm also really hoping that there is a change, that hopefully we'll have a new leadership, and that would definitely have an impact.
Mm-hmm.
So let's really hope, yeah, because I really think I know, and I think Kamala is wonderful. I think that she is a really, really classy person that was gonna be able to handle all the pressure and all the stuff. She seems like a really kick-ass businesswoman, and let's hope everybody comes out and votes. Yeah,
I'm very hopeful on that, but I'm also hopeful that entertainment and just even all businesses really are just gonna move forward in a more positive way with more inclusion and diversity, because clearly it's needed.
Yeah, and I think that the world and the country has made a point. So I think that the industry is going to follow suit, because there has been such an outcry that there's just no way that could be ignored.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think there will be some good change, and I think we will see more diversity out there.
I'm very hopeful. Now, I want to make sure before we get cut off again, we talk about your singing career as well, because you've performed with Marc Anthony. Like, even on that front, he's a huge Latin star, much like yourself. So I'm just curious, how did that come about?
Well, we met on the film Hackers. And he played a detective that was, after us in the whole, in the storyline. And right away we became really, really close friends. And then he was getting ready to work on The Capeman on Broadway, which is a musical that Paul Simon wrote that Marc was involved in. And he just asked me off the cuff. He said, you would be perfect for the opposite lead in this musical that I'm getting ready to start in. And he had no idea. We had talked so much about music, and he knew that I was a singer, and we did a lot of singing together. But he didn't know that one of my biggest dreams that I wanted to check off in life was to be on Broadway. So when he mentioned that, I just was like, oh my goodness, please, like, let me know how I can somehow be a part of this. Or so then it was just like 1, 2, and 3. He introduced me to Paul Simon, and Paul right away liked me, and he heard me sing, and he liked my voice, and he offered me the role, and then we got to work together on that, and then we just kept on, and staying in touch and being friends, and I think that was the last thing that we worked on publicly, but that's how basically we became friends.
Oh, wow. I'm just thinking back. Paul Simon, I always think of that song Sledgehammer and all his videos with all the different. Do you remember all his videos where it was like stop motion?
Sledgehammer was Peter Gabriel.
Oh, Peter Gabriel. I'm thinking the wrong person altogether. Paul Simon.
It was the same era. And,
okay.
Yeah, the Paul Simon song that was playing a lot during that time was Bodyguard or something like, if you be my bodyguard, whatever.
Oh, okay. I got it. Yeah.
That was the similar time that they were playing all that. Yeah.
He would have the backup singers that were from South Africa because we went to go see them. I remember, and I was like, "Where's the guy? Like the front guy?"
I know, that's so funny. He was, that was his thing back. And that's when we were, listening, and involved, like kids listening and music and all that. But I feel, I love the guy, but I feel his best music definitely was in the 1960s. And I think maybe they were out in the 50s, but with Simon and Garfunkel, that music catalog is just spectacular.
Yeah. I'll have to check it out. Now I have him so confused with Peter Gabriel.
Yeah, he did Bridge Over Troubled Water.
Okay.
Which is like a beautiful song, and all these others. But and then Mark and I, and then the music for the actual show that me and Marc Anthony did, it's called The Capeman. The music is amazing. So that alone is worth just listening to, just because it's such a beautiful soundtrack.
I have to check it out, because now, what did it feel like for you to, first you did film, no big deal, just the guy that you worked with Fame with. Now you're doing Broadway. Like, that's huge, especially from a New Yorker, New Jersey Yorker, same type of thing. What was that moment like? Did your mom, did she come see you? Of course she came and saw you. You got to bring us through it, because who knows when we'll be able to go to a live Broadway show and when someone can have this moment for themselves. So,
yes. It was such a dream come true, number one. I grew up watching commercials for 42nd Street, come and meet those dancing feet, and all the dancing feet. And Evita was one of my favorite soundtracks to listen to. I would listen to it every day at lunchtime with my best friend when we were little, like little things like that, just to pass the time, So all of a sudden I get this opportunity to actually be on Broadway. Oh my God, it was like fire through, passion, in your soul, in your body, every moment, at night, on stage. It's just such a magical experience that I really, as an actor, was, I guess, the most heightened type of acting that you could do, in a sense, because everything is going on in front of so many people. And you feel them taking that voyage with you, and you also feel like a real conductor, in the sense of like, that you are gonna take them on this ride, and so the responsibility of it too is it can be scary for some people, but for me, I don't know, call it ignorance or just whatever. It was more like I was so excited, because again, being a Latino and being someone that we rarely get the opportunity, I was just so fired up to get that chance, and so the voyage was particularly special because of the piece itself that we were working on, which it was based on the story of a Puerto Rican man who had come as an immigrant from Puerto Rico and met a ton of racism with his family. It was in the 1950s in New York when gangs were very popular.
Yeah.
And so there were also a lot of racial division in the gangs. So the Puerto Ricans came into New York, and so they were like the new, group that was like in the bottom, and so there was there was a lot of hostility towards them from blacks and from whites, and so they had to kind of find their own little like gang to like do their own protection and their own whatever. And so the story basically happens that the guy ends up getting a death sentence for a crime that he committed, which was a violent crime, which the character I played commits the crime with him. So it's a really complex play and musical about, it really speaks to the condition of poverty and what can happen, and discrimination, and what can happen to a young man's mind, and the influences that they succumb to, and so then it went into his whole life in prison, and then later on he had a very tragic life. He ended up dying just a few years after being released from prison, and then he also killed another child, which is why he went to jail. And why Paul Simon chose to explore that story, because it was considered like, what he compared it to, it was like OJ, but in the 1950s, like when that happened in New York, it was a big deal.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of blatantly racist newspaper covers, like, Spics, kill, whatever, or kill the Spics, and so he found it very interesting in that way. And so the piece basically explores what happened there and in that life. So the story itself was very dramatic and very fulfilling as a dramatic actor to do that every night, and the music and everything. So it was incredible. It really was a special time.
Yeah. No, I'm curious for you as well. Working with so many Latin workers, I mean, not Latin workers, but Latin co-workers on the film, Broadway play. How did that feel as well? I mean, from your other films, there you were, there's a little here and there. It wasn't a predominantly Latin cast. So how did that feel for you to be able to, even on that sense, work with predominantly Latin cast?
Yeah, I'm so glad you brought that up, because one of the other very special things about that experience was that it was a cast of over 50 Latinos, which was a first in probably Broadway history, because even West Side Story was half, half black and half white, where this was mostly Latinos with maybe like two or three. There was like three white people in the cast, and then there were two black people, and then three black people, and then everyone else was Latino. So it was a celebration of that within the cast every single day. And and the black and the white cast also felt we were all so in love with each other. We were all so happy to be part of something that was monumental. And also the music, again, I bring up because the music itself is so well written and so powerful. So you always want to dig your teeth into something that is, beautiful. So the music, then Paul Simon was such a control freak and so, specific, that he handpicked every singer. And so every actor in that play not only was a great actor, but had a beautiful singing voice. So yes, because he was so adamant about recording and sound and pitch and all of these things, that we were also just amazed with each other every day, hearing each other sing and marveling at each other, and even Marc Anthony, who was a very famous singer. I mean, he felt equal to everyone else too. I mean, he was also like just amazed by all of the beautiful voices, and so that was something that the love in that cast I have never seen. And I will be honest, everything I've ever done, there's been so much love. Everybody is really like a family. But being in a group of 50 people that were performers,
Yeah.
that group hug every night before we went on stage, where you do that circle and you do that prayer, and just different things like that really made it so special.
I can't
Yeah.
imagine. Now, I see that you also worked on The Get Down, which is also a film or TV show that's supposed to be. I haven't watched it yet. I know that it's gotten a lot of praise for being very diverse. Is that not like it's supposed to be like a predominantly Latin show as well? How do you feel about working on that? Was there a big enough contrast, you think, between the Broadway? I mean, obviously, you guys were way more. I guess close just because you're working every night together. Oh no. It taketh, it giveth and taketh away. Well, I was gonna I pulled up really quickly Wikipedia and found out that not only was it Marc Anthony part of the original cast and Renoly Santiago, but Sarah Ramirez from Grey's Anatomy. She's one of the main characters in it as well. Like, he was not kidding about having a lot of great talent and singers on that. I didn't realize that she had, I mean, of course, no, very few are overnight sensations, but Ruben Blades was also one of the main characters or the original cast members. I don't want to butcher anybody's name, so I'm skipping it. Nita Nazaro. Sorry, I'm bad. My Spanish teacher always told me to keep practicing. So, yeah. But let me see if I can find while we wait for him to come back, because I definitely want to make sure we talk a little bit more about his time working on CONAIR, of course, because that was a big film at the time when it came out with Nicolas Cage and being made on a plane. But then let me see if I can find some videos here. Maybe I can even find him. That would be cool. And he's back.
Hi.
Hi.
So, yeah, I just wait. I will. I waited a while and saw it wasn't connecting, so I just reconnect. So
No
yeah,
worries. I was like, well, let me try to find a video or song.
yes, but I could hear you audibly, and I'm so glad that you brought up Sara Ramirez.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, which, by the way, she likes to pronounce her name Sara. So
Sada.
Sara. So it's like in English you would say SDA, I guess, like Sara.
Okay. Sada. Got it.
Sara, yeah. But I will tell you, I'm so glad you brought her up, because she has one of the most phenomenal singing voices that you will ever hear. When I was, one of the main singers I was thinking about when I was telling you about the singing was her. So if I would highly, highly recommend the listeners, and also for yourself, if you really want a treat and hear a singing voice like that will knock you off your feet,
Yeah.
go ahead and look up the Capeman soundtrack. So you would want to look up the cast recording and then look up Sara Ramirez. Or you can simply just YouTube the Capeman Sara Ramirez or Sara Ramirez.
Okay.
And it'll come up. And you got to hear her singing. I mean,
Yeah, you can watch the full show, allegedly.
Yeah.
Yeah, somebody stole it. Well, it says by Paul Simon, but probably not.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if it's on video, because I think hopefully somebody did film it and got it online. But I know there's a lot of laws behind that and a lot of regulations. So I wouldn't know if it's ever, I mean, supposedly it's never supposed to be on, but if it is fantastic. But the cast soundtrack is on YouTube, where you can like play it and then it'll play the whole play, and you can hear me sing and everyone else. But Sara had just graduated from Juilliard with that. So it was her first gig ever. And she was, shy and sweet and a great performer, of course. And she, I remember looked a lot up to me, like for advice, and just, kind of big. I was sort of like a big brother in a way, a little bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, you gotta hear her voice. It's like, I remember it being sort of like a bed sheet. When you like, do that with a sheet and it just ripples, like that is what her voice is like. I mean,
I'll have to check.
Definitely very gifted. Yeah.
Oh, well, I'm curious, what kind of tips do you give for people who are maybe aspiring to enter into the entertainment industry, whether it's singing or acting?
The first thing that comes to mind is have fun. Like, make sure that you do this with a lot of joy in your heart. Um, there's gonna be people, there that are constantly giving some kind of resistance, whether it's people that just don't understand what it means to be an artist and may think that it's a lot easier than what you got to go through, or actors and performers always have a lot of people give them simple suggestions that, you know what I mean, like they think it's a lot easier than what we got to go through. So you have to really keep a positive attitude. And also, part of what I mean by having fun is like, let the series, treat it with respect and completely commit yourself, but also have a good, like, who cares about it, because when you think like that, then you can let go, and then you can really like say, let your heart out, you know what I mean, and let your soul out. And we all know that that's not easy to do. So we as performers have to find that safe place in ourselves that says it's okay, no matter where I am, no matter what's going on, that I can let go, and that I you always want to protect that. So that's something that I always try to instill in her and remind her of, and everyone else that I work with, or sometimes I coach as a acting coach or a teacher, where I've taught at different schools in the past. And I definitely just try to build up their self-esteem.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, before I have to ask about Dangerous Minds and CONAIR. I don't care what clock says, but I wanted to ask before I did, are you doing any of these classes virtually now that everybody's kind of stuck home? Like, so they know to reach out to you?
Oh, absolutely. Thank you so much. People can reach out to me at Renoly Santiago on Instagram, or look me up on Facebook, and you can write me, DM me. And I am available to coach anywhere around the world. And I also speak in Spanish. So people that are Spanish speakers can also come to me for coaching. And and then should I give them my email or something? Or
Yeah, you can if you want to. Sure,
Yeah.
however you want to be contacted.
Yeah, you can also email me at renoly15@gmail, which is RENOLY15@gmail.com.
Oh, perfect. Okay.
Yeah.
So Dangerous Minds. What was that like filming that? And do you ever get sick of hearing the soundtrack?
It was one of the best experiences ever. I mean, I not exaggerating. That was also something, I mean, God, and this is why I always bring up God when I, really get into the bottom of my truth, because you can't, be grateful enough. I mean, I flipped out, imagine, again, I came from the situation in my back of my mind, like, what am I even trying to do this for? You know what I mean? Like, they probably would never give me a chance. And then, so I had to get over that hump, which is why, again, I always encourage self-esteem and saying, who cares?
Yeah.
Because, if you care too much about like feeling, the one that's different, or the one that, you've never been, then, you don't want to stop yourself. You got to go for it. So when that happened, it was like a celebration every day. I think I was one of the happiest in the cast to be in a movie, and finally, because it was just like, oh wow, this is like a dream come true. So every day I was like super excited to just go on there and get that opportunity to like do what I mentioned, which is that I knew if I was given a chance to tell a story, I had so much emotion in me and so many things I felt about the world, that this gave me an opportunity to do that. So every day was magic. We had the whole cast got along really well for the most part. We were young, so there was a little bit of that, and there was a lot of tough, entertainers that were hired, because I call them entertainers, because even though a lot of the young cast members were younger and really didn't have a lot of entertainment experience, they were artists. They were people that, went to that open call. You know what I mean? To get in the movie. So there was something in them that wanted to like be creative. And so there was that. But then in the beginning, since there was a lot of cast from New York and then half from Los Angeles, there was this little bit of like, oh, okay, are they all right? Or what do they think? Are they stuck up? Like there was this competition a little bit, but that deceased, and everything was just like great. We had so much fun. And yeah. And then on a technical standpoint, in regard to the acting, I do love to tell people, because I think it was so cool. Like everything was done in one take, and yeah. And it wasn't because that's what they asked us to do. It was just because everybody was so on point that, when they said action, that was it. That was the take. You know what I mean? And then they only ever repeated scenes for another angle. And then also that ended up being in one take. And so I remember the movie ended up a little bit before schedule. Like we were ahead of schedule when the movie finished, because it's so cool, because they probably didn't expect all these Black and Latino kids to be able to like pull it off. Yeah. And everybody was so on point. And Michelle too.
Yeah, that was like her first film she did herself too, Michelle Pfeiffer.
Yeah.
And pregnant.
And she was so on point. I guess, that's why Michelle Pfeiffer is such a respected actress. I mean, we all expected, her to do good anyway. I mean, she's got such a great background.
Right. Speaking of Scarface.
Yeah. She had that little street cred to her too. So everybody like really liked her, and nobody was trying to like, but she was, as a human being, you could tell, very tough as nails. She's definitely like an actor, who's gone through the trenches, who is a creative being. So, you sense that from her, and she understands the craft so well. And so she just did her thing, and we all, thank goodness, did something that we can all feel proud about,
Yeah, no, and I don't think anybody will ever get sick of that Coolio song either, about Gangster's Paradise.
I'm so glad, I mean, for me,
Yeah,
it's such a personal, it's so close to me being part of it, that when I hear it, I almost feel like it's an extension of something I've done. So it's like, I don't, I love the song, but it's not like something that like I get to enjoy it as other people do, because it's almost, I feel like it's so close, you know what I mean? That it's just like part of something that,
wow, yeah.
funny like that.
That's neat. Now, of course, we got to talk about CONAIR, because that was a big, big, big movie when it came out. It was an action-packed thriller and about all these inmates on an airplane. So, I mean, clearly you guys weren't really in the sky filming it, but I'm sure it still had some of its challenges. So what was it like working on CONAIR?
CONAIR was another party. Okay. I mean, we had so much fun. I mean, the guys were effing crazy, I was like the most mature one, and I was the youngest one, put it that way. I mean, I was like 20, I want to say I was 23.
Okay.
And then everybody else was like probably in their 30s, or I don't even think there was anybody in their late 20s. After me, 23, it was like 30s and up,
Yeah.
And so it was a bunch of playful guys. We drank beer every day. Like the thing was like in between shooting days or whatever, we'd be sitting by the pool and drinking brewski and brewski and brew. And then I would drink like one or two, and then they would be, of course, people at home, you don't want to do this, but they would be like always telling me, drink here, what? Have another beer. So I'd be like, all right, so that's what, so it was a total hangout,
So not everything was taken in one take there, huh? No, okay.
Well, that one too, funny though, that one also very smooth shoot, you know what I mean? But yeah, no, we were definitely like, everybody was, I mean, we weren't drinking on the set, thank goodness, but in between, after, yes, always drinking beer. That was like the thing.
No, I thought, well, I'm glad you cleared that up, because I was thinking on set at first. I was like,
no. Thank goodness, on set, everybody was like, like in character, or doing the doing whatever they were filming. And I remember receiving a lot of love from the cast, though. Like, I was like the little baby,
Yeah.
and there was not one smidgen of sarcasm or disrespect for playing a gay character,
Mm.
or being in the dress. It was like everybody was so excited about it. I almost thought, like, is this real? Like, the guys were like, and maybe they were like in the desert, so everybody was already like fantasizing about trying something new or whatever. I don't know, but everybody was like, we can't wait to see you in the dress, and I'd be like,
You guys set me
what?
up. Is there hazing getting ready to happen?
Yeah, like, I was like, what is this? But no, everybody was like just really creative, and really like a sense of fun.
No, and that's cool because I mean, just looking at the cast that you worked with on that, it was Nicolas Cage, John Cusack, Vin Rames, and then I look back, Dave Chappelle. Like, I forgot Dave Chappelle was on that as well. So I can't even imagine how much fun you guys were having on that set.
I'll be honest, it was so much fun. Dave Chappelle, I remember the first time we met, he was so sweet, so nice. And I remember he said, Renoly Santiago. That sounds like a famous person's name. And I was like, really? In my mind, I thought, wow, well, maybe someday, like, hopefully, I mean, it was great. And everyone else, and Danny Trejo.
Yeah, Danny Trejo, I was going to bring him up, the tattoo guy.
Yes, he is not gangster. I hate to kill it for him in real life.
Yeah.
He's just like the sweetest, nicest guy. You know what I mean? That just will talk about anything, and just like always bringing good energy.
Yeah.
So, and it was fun to see him play that tough dude, even though he had Danny talks like this, he had his voice, but no, he was like an uncle. You know what I mean? So it's funny to see him be this like bad guy, or tough dude, because he's like an uncle.
My mom used to be a stunt woman, and her one of her teachers actually was in CONAIR. Henry Kinji.
Okay.
He's he looks Asian, but he's like Hawaiian descent. He looks, so he would always pass for Latin, Black. Like, he played for everybody.
Sounds familiar.
Long hair. He was married to she's a famous actress as well. She was 6 Million Woman or something. I can't think of her.
Cool.
Yeah.
He sounds very familiar. I'm sure if I saw his face, I would totally remember him.
Yeah. Probably weren't even on the screen at the same time because he was probably doing the stunts or something.
We were all together, thank goodness. No, I'm sure I would remember him because we were isolated in the desert. So everything that was going on was always together. And then they would drive us back to our hotel, which was like half an hour away, which was still in the desert.
Oh, wow.
But it was, it was in Wendover, Nevada was where we filmed most of that.
So even just going from East Coast to West Coast, when you were on their territory, did you ever feel kind of like a New Yorker in LA? How does this work?
No, thank God. No, I just like fit in, and thank God they liked me back. And so it was just like, being at home.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm trying to make sure I got all of my questions out of you because I know we had some time.
Well, I wanted to mention my t-shirt.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, which I'm so excited about, which I just got up today. So, oh my goodness. And I've been wanting to do this for a while because I'm very much into fashion, and I have a lot of ideas, and so I wanted to put something out for a while. So, and I love t-shirts. I'm a t-shirt person,
Love, yeah.
Yeah. So I came up with, this is my logo and my design.
Love it. I was wondering, I didn't want to ask in case it wasn't one of your shirts because I just saw fashion and I just love the way that was written, but then Hurts. Is there like a social thing behind it or just?
It's a little bit of, it's like tongue-in-cheek humor, like it was basically, I remember the day I came up with the slogan was I was wearing a pink leather jacket and like a Marilyn Monroe t-shirt and some like suede loafers that were hurting my feet.
Mm-hmm.
And my friend and I had like gray slacks on, so it was like a different outfit, but is a fashion statement.
Mm-hmm.
And so he's like, yeah. And I'm like, we're going to a restaurant. And I'm like, oh my God, but my feet are killing me. And he's like laughing. And I'm like, oh, fashion hurts. Fashion hurts. And so I just kept that in mind. And then when I started to think about like slogans and things for my t-shirts, I thought, well, I just definitely want to come out with fashion hurts, because so it's about the commitment that we all make when we're getting ready, or when we want to buy something that sometimes might be on our wish list for over a year. I don't know if that's happened to anybody out there, but it's happened to me. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, I want to get those shoes. I want to get that bag. I want to get that coat, and it's like a
dream list.
right?
What I'm going to buy when I get out of here.
Yeah, and to the point where it can hurt, you know what I mean? It's like, my gosh, it's like we are so emotionally tied to fashion. And so it's a double mix of like making a statement that materialism and these things are not, so good, but at the same time, it celebrates it, because it's like we live for fashion. We live to like make a statement. So that's what the slogan is about, And I have other ones coming up, but I'm starting my line is called Renoly NYC.
Okay.
And my first series is the Fashion Hurts t-shirts.
Oh, great. Now, I'm sure you're going to give me the link to purchase or.
Well, I will. And also people can go on Redbubble and look up Renoly NYC. So it's redbubble/RenolyNYC.com, and they can go on there and start purchasing t-shirts.
Redbubble.com, Renoly 15 again?
Renoly NYC.
NYC, that's right.
So yeah, it's redbubble/RenolyNYC.com.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Let's see. Thankfully, there's subtitles there showing it better than I am probably. Right?
Yeah, and then also soon it'll just be Renoly NYC, so people can just go there. But right now it's on Redbubble NYC, Renoly NYC.
All right, Redbubble/RenolyNYC.com.
Yes.
Okay. I just put it in a comment so they can click on it there as well.
Thank you.
This has been so great. Well, I hope it didn't hurt being on the E-Spot with me today, because I definitely enjoyed every minute, even when technology was acting up. I still had a fabulous time and enjoyed our audience, the guard dogs.
Yeah, you heard her. She wants to say goodbye too, I guess.
Oh, bye.
Here we go, mamita.
Bye, Pocket Diva. Wait, Pocket Diva. Wait, is that right?
That's her name.
Oh, okay.
She has two names. You can call her Pocket or Diva or Pocket Diva. She knows both, Little Diva.
My best friend, his dog's name was Devo because it was a boy, Diva. And so it's easy to remember Pocket Diva. But so cute. Okay, now I gotta go play with my dog. You've made me have dog envy. Well, I appreciate it so much.
It was my pleasure.
All right. Oh, and thank you, Juan, for introducing us so this could all happen, because it was nice to talk to you. I really enjoyed it so much. And thanks for all the great tips you gave as well. Make sure everyone you follow. Now that I was about to butcher your name, Renoly. Please follow him on Instagram, Facebook, and reach out if you need lessons or t-shirts. Redbubble is up there as well for you guys to follow. And thank you again for being my guest. I greatly appreciated it.
It was a blast.
All right.
Thank you.
Oh, my pleasure. All right. All righty, spotters. How much fun was that? Okay, I'm definitely going to be listening to Gangster's Paradise and Capeman. Right? Yeah, Capeman soundtrack will be on my list of things to be listening to this weekend and watching. I'm going to have to rewatch CONAIR. I don't even remember Dave Chappelle being on there, but maybe because it's been so long since I saw it, I don't really remember everything from it. But I remember that movie being really good. So if you guys are looking to go to watch some oldies but goodies, CONAIR is the one. And Hackers, too. I guess we can see that, too, because I didn't remember Marc Anthony being on All right. Well, anyway, thank you guys so much for tuning in to the eSpot and for dealing with all the different technical glitches we were having earlier today. I really appreciate it. And you guys have a wonderful day. Be sure to share with your friends. Let them know to watch the eSpot live Monday through Friday at 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific. Tomorrow, I will have the other half of Muscle and Makeup. Crystal Cuso will be my guest tomorrow, also from Jerseylicious, and she's an entrepreneur, makeup artist, and we're going to hear some Jersey tips for beauty in the pandemic, which I'm excited about. I already have my animal print picked out. Don't ask, it's a thing. And then Friday, I'll have my good friend Rhonda Marie, who's a filmmaker, actress. She's been in the film industry, and she started in North Carolina here as well. And well, oh yeah, I guess I did start in North Carolina as well, now that I think about it. So anyway, I can't wait for her to be my guest on Friday. I really look forward to you guys seeing the rest of the week. And next week's lineup is going to be exciting. There's going to be a little schedule changes because, like I mentioned before, school's back. And I may have to tutor. So just to be safe, I wanted to figure out my schedule. Plus, I kind of wanted to attend some of these wonderful acting classes as well. I mean, I'm still an actor, so I wanted to be able to attend some of the classes. And a lot of the, I have a new opportunity that just was presented to myself, and a lot of the things I have to do are on Monday nights. So Mondays and Fridays are going to be my days off moving forward until, because it's a temporary thing. So once that's over, then I'll be back to probably to Monday through Friday. And I can't share publicly what it is, but those of you that know me already know what's going on. It's pretty fun. So yeah, Mondays I will be doing that, and make sure. Yeah, no, I can't share any of it. Sorry, but I will be here Tuesday through Thursday. And of course, Thursdays, you got to wait for it. I'll announce it tomorrow on a Thursday. So you guys can now know what Thursdays will be moving forward, because I'm having some new changes, and it's going to be a we, not just me, on Thursdays. All right. Well, thanks again for tuning in. Make sure you follow, share with your friends. If you can, make sure you also like my podcast. Anywhere that podcast can be found, just look for the eSpot with Camille. Give some 5-star reviews, guys. That would be wonderful. Folks, not guys. I almost went a whole week without saying guys. Next week. All right. Well, thanks again for tuning in, and I will see you guys, folks, tomorrow.